What up guys, it's your boy K-Flow. Today I'm going to show you how to install the Prinsu Roof Rack onto your Toyota Tacoma. Let's get this started. The link where you can get this roof rack will be in the description below. So the first thing we're going to do is unbox and assemble the wind deflector. So it's best to put the hardware together first. Take the screw, the lock wash, and the washer just like this.
These nuts
will have a bumped side.
Got him! Got him!
And it must be on the side furthest away from the whole hardware. Install the hardware onto the wind deflector and make sure the nut is lightly screwed in. We can measure, mark, and cut the weather stripping to length. It should be the same length as the bottom side of the wind deflector. It should cut really easily with some wire cutters. Now we can line up all of the flat nuts so they can slide into the aluminum extrusions channel. Now we can slide together the aluminum extrusion and the wind deflector. And if it feels like the hardware is binding up, loosen the screws on the opposite end. Once it's fully slid in, tighten up all the hardware with a Phillips head screwdriver. Now we can finally slide on the weather stripping with the tube side down, as you see here. Now we can work on preparing the frames. First, prepare the hardware. Start with the bolt, lock wash, and washer. Now we could move on to the roof of the truck. I'm using this plastic non-scratching pry bar tool to pry off the gutter covers, starting with the front and then working towards the back. After inspecting the gutters, we can see that there are these tape sections. We can use a small flathead screwdriver to dig into the tape and expose the threaded holes. There are going to be 2 threaded holes for the front and back side, and there will be 1 threaded hole for the middle section. I then used painter's tape and applied it right next to those tape sections on the roof. We can then install the hardware and the spacer and mark the tape with the start and the end of the spacer. You're going to want to do this for all 3 sections. We can now reinstall the rain gutter cover and transfer over the markings from the tape and onto the rain gutter covers. We can then remove it and cut it using an angle grinder. Note, those rain gutter covers do have a metal skeleton. Now we can clean those gutter mounting points with a microfiber cloth and some alcohol. This would also be a good time to just wipe down that whole rain gutter sections because it might be filled with dirt and debris. Now we can apply some silicone onto those threaded holes. We apply about a Hershey's Kiss size in those areas. Here's a quick note. Use the markings on the tape to place the spacers into the silicone. This would probably also be a good time to install the middle sections of the gutter cover in between the spacers. Now we can install the frame by placing it onto the spacers first and finger tightening the forward, middle, and rear hardware. You may need to move the hardware around to line up to the threaded holes. Tighten the bolts further using a 10mm socket, but still allow the frame to slide back and forth for now. And finally, we can install the rest of the gutter covers. And you basically repeat the process for the opposite frame. Now we could install the aluminum extrusions, or the crossbeams. First, prepare the hardware. Again, similar to the other ones, We use the screw, the lock wash, and the washer. The easiest crossbeam to install first will be the one with the wind deflector. Here, I'm using a 2x4 block with the microfiber cloth on the bottom as a rest for the opposite side as I install the one side of the crossbeam. We finger tighten this one side first using a T30 bit. We install the opposite hardware and tighten that one down completely. Then we go back to our first side and tighten that down completely. This video is brought to you by K-Flow's Crib, your #1 resource for Tacoma DIY projects. For Valentine's Day this year, show your truck some love. Go to my website, www.kflow-crib.com, and get yourself a t-shirt or some merch from my store. We do the same thing to the rear. Again, using a 2x4 as a rest. Make sure that the machine slot is upwards. Do the same thing with the remaining 5 crossbars. These are modular, so you can put them anywhere in those slots. And once you're done, make sure you tighten all of those hardware. And again, these are T30 bits. For the final part of the installation, make sure your whole rack system is centered. If it's not, you can still slide them back and forth because we haven't tightened down those final bolts. Once you're happy with the placement, tighten down those final bolts using a 10mm sockets. And for the hardware that's blocked by these cross beams, you can either use a regular closed-end wrench or a ratcheting wrench, as you see here, to finally tighten down all 10 bolts. And we can also finally install the tie-down rings, and you can put these anywhere on those crossbars. Remember, just by sliding them down those slots and then tightening them. Hey guys, to wrap up this video, I do have a few final thoughts. If those gutter covers are still very loose after you install them, you can apply a little bit of silicone in between the gutter and the gutter covers to keep them stuck together. And I have to say, these things are rock solid. And here's a few shots of the finished installed product. I am really happy with this install and how it looks on the truck. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. And for Valentine's Day this year, I want you guys to show my channel some love. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for me. And until next time, peace out.